Hello everybody, this is Zerta back here again with another Team Top Deck testing video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, it'll really help the channel grow. And today I've got a little bit of an upgrade for that budget reanimator deck we played not long ago. This one is much heavier on the rares. This is not a budget build, but it's the same style. Later I'll come up with a version that foregoes the Enduray's Forerunners and is a little more, less of a trying to kill the turn you play the reanimation spell, more just trying to build a powerful threat. But for now, this is what we have. I might try out at some point playing, what's his name? The pay 2 life to surveil 2 demon, because I think he's very powerful in reanimator decks where you just get to keep going until you hit what you want, but this isn't the version for him, so I'm going to wait. I think he'd be really good in the version that'll have, I believe it's Razzacat that's currently legal. When you lose life you draw cards, because then you get to pay 2, draw 2, surveil 2 when you have them both out, and that's really strong. But for now, moved into a little bit more of a, how do I put it? A little bit more expensive mana base, Enduray's Forerunners, and Dracoseth, because this is the second best reanimation target I feel in Standard, at least as far as this deck goes. Otherwise it would be the best, but Enduray's kind of can kill the turn it comes down. We kept the Mire Triton in part because of the Death Touch and the Mill gain 2. Basically just a 2-drop that combos with the Endurays because of Trample, Death Touch being 1 damage to a blocker and then the rest to the opponent. Also the life gain is pretty nice against mono red. We kept the Facet Reader because looting effects are really important in this deck, and looting is way better than rummaging, which is what you call it when you discard first. Benthic Biomancer is in this deck, just another looter. It can come down on 1, it can actually deal some damage, get in, make the Enduray's kill a little easier. Kept the Tomebound Lich. I think it's incredibly powerful. Just doesn't really have a great home. Merchant of the Veil is a continued ability to keep rummaging through your deck. Rixmidi Reveler is just a good way to on-2 start filtering. And then our 5 reanimation spells, we're going with the Haste because hasting out Dracoseth is really good, and lifelinking Dracoseth is absolutely absurd. Kept more of the lifelink because of the synergy with Enduray's, and we do have more of that than we do of the Dracoseth. Also, giving Dracoseth lifelink as long as they can't kill it that turn is probably enough to stop most aggressive decks anyway. Alright, so that is the deck. Let's get right into those videos. I'll show you some of the mono blue flash action I've been working on, trying to make a budget build of that, but kind of difficult when, you know, Teferi is still around. Means that you're automatically gonna be playing for Shark Typhoon to try and deal with that. Also, Brazen Borrower being so good is not exactly the easiest thing when you're trying to make it budget. I've been experimenting with 2. I think that's not enough. I think you're going to just kind of be forced to play 4. Especially when you consider the synergy with the Unsummon, saving your Brazen Borrower and continuing to loot. Okay, on the play I have a Rixmidi and a Tomebound and a Facet Reader with targets to discard, so I'm definitely going to keep this. I'm against Umora the Collector. Just going to hope that they aren't the Affinity version. That seems a little bad for us. Lead on Temple of Epiphany. We're looking for more lands or reanimation, nothing else. More lands. That is one thing we need. Gilded Goose. Opponent's going to get ahead of us on mana pretty quickly here. I'm going to shock this in the hopes that we draw a basic next turn. And I am going to drop the Rixmidi just in case we're able to start getting out and ahead of our opponent. I'll discard the Dracoseth. It doesn't much matter because I still get to discard the Endurays. But I think the Dracoseth might be a little bit better here. Alright, there you have a 4/4. Now, I was considering before maybe going tap land into Tomebound Lich. But it does also have flying. Okay. Wasn't thinking about that. Maybe I just go... Well, I definitely attack. I can't block. What does this one do when it mutates? Artifact or enchantment. I'm gonna drop the Tomebound Lich. It has the highest upside in its living and continued looting for free. Discard the end race. Alright, so this turn, I'm going to attack with all first. I'll discard the... I'm gonna discard the Facet Reader here. I like the Mire Triton's life gain a little bit more here, and I think I'm gonna want the one drop there. I'm gonna try and play out my hand before this if I don't hit the reanimation spell. Maybe yeah, Mire Triton after I crack a fetch. I'm gonna find a swamp, and I don't want to mill all of my swamps here, which is a possibility. And then I will play out the Benthic Biomancer. If we draw a reanimation spell here, I think we have lethal. I'll be 100% have lethal if it's a reanimation spell this turn. Alright. Opponent got greedy. Let's punish him. Suppose they did what they had to. There is basically nothing they can do here, though. Alright, there you go. And that is why we play this deck. When it does its thing, it is very, very powerful. I think one thing I'd really, really want from it, though. Let's change out that reward real quick. There we go, 750. Alright, one thing I would like from this deck, though, is another looter. I feel like one more that went draw, then discard, at around the 2 mana mark would really make a difference. But one of the big weaknesses for this version that relies on end rays, which is a huge strength that lets us kill on turn 5 fairly reasonably. But one of the weaknesses that comes with that is we don't get to play things like the red instants that are discard a card, draw 2, or Cathartic Reunion, or anything like that. We're stuck to the creatures that loot. On the draw, I do have a Mire Triton and a Rixmedy against a non-companion deck, which might be mono red. And if it's mono red, yep, getting to the Tomebound Lich is really good for us. I'm going to lead on Blood Crypt with the plan of going turn 2 Mire Triton. And trading against literally the first thing I'm able to. Alright, they get a card from us. Hopefully it's nothing good. Oh, there goes land. Actually, I think I'd rather Rixmedy here. Because it still trades with their Robber of the Rich. And I'd rather get them try and use burn spells on me, and trade the Mire Triton for something else with them not knowing our actual life total. There we go. Alright, we're 100% trading for the Robber here. It still is unfortunate that it's going to give them a token, but I need them to stop drawing cards. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and deploy the Mire Triton so that I don't have to shock myself. I'll be a little sad if they don't swing with the Annex and offer the trade, but I won't be necessarily surprised. Tapped Watery Grave. Alright, so I think they might just have the Ember Cleave with that attack, but yeah, they do. But I still think it's right to try and take it down. Alright, I don't think I can survive this. I definitely can't. That does have double strike. We would discard the end rays, and let's go ahead and kill ourselves so that our opponent can't. Another benefit of one of the versions I do want to try eventually, being the looting. The more control-y, not end rays built version, is you get to play removal in that version. And kind of just be a control deck that gets to suddenly go, oh, by the way, it's turn 5, here's a hasty Dracoseth. Or here is a life-linking Villas. Which can really, really swing games pretty quickly. I don't think this version's bad, mind you. It's just not what I would typically be doing. I'm much more of a control mage. On the play against Lurrus, Mire Triton, Facet Reader, Endrays. With the Scryland and the Facet Reader, I'm tempted to keep this because I have a lot of looting and I have my best target for a Lurrus matchup, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this. I'm going to lead on Temple of Deceit, especially on the play. On the draw, I think I would ship this. On the play, I think it's fast enough to start putting up some kind of a defense. Alright, so with the Lich on top, I think I'm going to actually turn to my Mire Triton. Ooh, it looks like it's... Alright. I keep forgetting that there are more Lurrus decks than Cauldron Cat now. I'm going to Facet Reader. Not Cauldron Cat, Catavan. Deploying this also in case they are the Catavan deck and this gets to block. There goes any hope of that. Because I would rather deploy the Tomebound Lich next turn, but I actually think I'm going to hold off on that. And just loot with Facet Reader, deploy Mire Triton. Shock. Mire Triton. I'd been thinking I might want to loot before I do that, but I decided against it simply because if they have any kind of... I was thinking they had a mana up, I don't. Honestly, that was just in case I wanted to block with this. I guess I could technically still want to, but it's really not going to happen. There's no real reason. I could either loot immediately or just wait. I would trade this for Valiant Rescuer if they had removal, though, for the Mire Triton, so I guess that isn't nothing. Discard Endrays. I'm going to go ahead and loot, then scry. This will also determine if I want to, what I want to do. The rest of what I'm in here. Actually, I think instead of... Alright, so I'm in a little bit of a odd position here. Because on the one hand, I would love to get the scry. On the other hand, I would much rather loot. But that also... As long as I do it with Fabled Passage and I draw my reanimation spell, I guess there's nothing to worry about. I'm gonna wait for them to loot, then I'm gonna crack the Fabled Passage. I'm not gonna attack as much as I'd like to try setting up for lethal the turn the boar comes down. I don't think it's my best chance right now. I think I just want to pass, let my opponent cycle whatever they're going to do, respond with fetching, so that if they have removal, I'm able to blanket, stopping my loot for turn. Here, I'm going to want another... Well, swamps are my primary mana source. And I'm good on mana otherwise. And wait for my opponent to do whatever they're going to do. I have my blocks pretty easily lined up here. Triton in front of there, Facet Reader there, Lich there, so I don't think they can attack here. I will, however, attack with my Tomebound Lich next turn. Deploying the healer. Let's loot. I'll discard my Mire Triton. I don't really need it. Here I'm going to go ahead and swing with the Lich, because I'd like to get in that loot if it's an option. Note that they can trade for it with just a 2/2 and their token, one of which will survive, and I will assure you it will be the token. But I do want to gain some life, and if it gets through, I do want to start looting. This could be bad because it puts another cycler in their graveyard for their Helix Flare, or Zenith Flare. But it's not the end of the world. And now I'm going to Merchant of the Veil. I'm going to haggle. Discard my Watery Grave. Excellent. So now that I have that, I'm going to play out the Merchant this turn, after my Scry. I won't need more lands. And we're going to gain a fairly nice chunk of life next turn. Let's make sure that I do in fact, yes, I do in fact have the End Raise. Would have been a little awkward otherwise. Suppose I would have liked one more land, technically, just because it gives my Facet Reader has Vigilance, so I'd be able to loot afterwards and look for the second one. Second reanimation spell in case we need to double End Raise. Here I won't take any trades, I don't think. They only have 5 cyclers in their yard. We'll eat any creature that we can without losing a guy, but we're not going to lose our Mire Triton this turn. It's one of our best attackers for next turn. There's the Luris. And I imagine here comes the Janeth Healer, which probably means our opponent is running out of cards if they needed that. Or they see the reanimation on the wall. I mean, there's only one reason a Grixis deck plays End-Raise Forerunners, and it's not to cast it. Oh. Alright, they definitely see what's happening. They killed the Facet Reader. And we are still going to bring it back because we need to race the Zenith Flare. Attack with all. We'll gain a absurd amount of life here. And by absurd, I mean 7. A very reasonable number, as any Gristlebrand aficionado will tell you. Shame we don't have the same ability to pay life as a Gristlebrand player would, but I suppose we'll just have to settle for mini Craterhoof. The smallest of hoofs. Opponent is figuring out blocks here. Trying to see how much they can take to not... Oh, they blocked wrong there. At least to prevent damage. They did eat the creature, so I can't exactly say it was entirely wrong. That is also right. They do get to just cast it again. On our turn, we're going to Benthic Biomancer and then loot. Likely afterwards, we'll just play the Facet Reader. Unless, of course, we draw the second reanimation spell and we get to play a second boar out. That would be the ideal turn of events. Oh, Benthic Biomancer. We'll waste no time in looting. Draw one, pitch Blood Crypt as we no longer need it. Play the Facet Reader. And we're going to keep the land in our hand so that we can loot it away later. Yeah, because there's no reason to just play it out. We will attack with the boar. Try and stay ahead of Zenith Flare, even if it means losing our boar. Alright, an odd choice. They could have taken our boar down for relatively low cost. They just need to throw a rescuer, a stinger, and some tokens in front of it. Maybe they plan on just cycling through everything this turn. They played that from their hand instead of their grave. Alright. Our opponent's doing something we don't see right now. Maybe they're going to cycle and then Zenith Flare? Yep. Alright. Oh. Or just Zenith Flare with no cycle. Does explain why they played it from hand and not yard, though. Alright, so, gonna start with the Facet Reader loot. Alright, so I think I'd rather reanimate next turn. I don't see us dying this turn, and I want to make sure this is absolutely lethal. So, no attacks. Note that a Zenith Flare does not kill us here, and we should be relatively safe. Play from the yard. We're going to have a huge team to swing in next turn, gain an absolutely ridiculous amount of life. We should just have this here. Here comes the second end race. And attack with everything. Note that we will also get a loot off of the Tomebound Lich, unless they throw 3 different creatures in front of it. I believe that kills the end race. Their Luris is really helping them stay in this, which is something to note. It just lets them build up a absolutely gigantic board, trade off resources completely indiscriminately, and not really be too affected by anything else. Alright, so the first thing and most important thing to die is the Valiant Rescuer. Is the Luris. Yeah. Oh, and 0 exactly. I don't think they realized the Death Touch interaction. Oh no, they had lifelink. Goodbye, Andres. We are presenting lethal. I'd forgotten about the Luris lifelink. And I agree, that was a good game. I think they might have played out some of their cycling creatures a little too aggressively there. Instead of just cycling them away like the healers, I think those are more in there because they cycle for 1 mana than the life gain aspect unless you're playing against mono red and already have a reasonable clock set up. So here we are going into, I believe, game 3. And we will have one more game after this. We're playing against Yorion. We don't have black mana, but with the Benthic and the Facet Reader, I'm pretty tempted to keep this, especially against Yorion. If we were on the play, I'd be a lot more comfortable with it, given that the Biomancer would definitely get in there for probably the first 2 damage, and maybe even 4, be able to set up a decent clock. Swinging for turn for 2 on 2 is not actually a bad rate. If we hit a land, we might just play the Facet Reader here, though. Or if we didn't draw a land. No, if we did. If we don't draw land, we're doing this, which is looting away the end rays, hoping we hit a land next turn. Excellent. We'd have obviously rather it been a shock land or a basic land, able to use the Tomebound Lich next turn, but as it stands, we don't really have any problem with what's going on. Nothing I scry could tell me anything else. To do anything else, I mean. I'm still gonna play a land and deploy a creature. If they were Fate Seal lands, however, the Wizards would never print those. Oh, and we have the win. I'm not gonna count that towards our 4 games for this video, but there you have it. Opponent didn't even want to face down the power of our unstoppable 1 mana 2/2. That loots, did I mention? And we'll be going into the next game. I am also tempted to build a version of this that's more focused on the creature aspect and plays potentially Kroxa, but for now I think that's just not something I'm interested in. On the play, I have the Haste Reanimation, Mire Triton, Rixmedy, and a target to discard to Rixmedy, so I'm going to keep. I wish I had some non-shock lands, but so be it. I'm going to lead on Watery Grave, I suppose. Gives the opponent the least information. Blood Crypt could actually... Blood Crypt, Rixmedy, or Mire Triton would actually make them think we are some kind of graveyard deck. Although Cat Oven, and if they have things to look for with it with a Scryland, they might keep it. Such as if they had the Karn for Grafdigger's Cage thing we saw a while back. Alright, so with First Strike, that means I'm going to be playing out the Rixmedy here. It's a bit of a shame that I'm going to be shocking myself against mono red, but I think stopping the damage is just more important. I'll discard the End Rays. Nice. I really wish I'd been able to Mire Triton there. I'd much rather Bond of Revival a Dracosith. I think it's absolutely absurd when that happens. Play out the Mire Triton. I am now representing a blocker for their Steamkin, no matter how big it gets. Tap land. No attacks. I am not the maddest of lads. And here is a point where I am sad we don't have access to the 4 mana reanimation spell, but I do think it makes the End Rays significantly worse. Now, this Mire Triton is going to stay back for anything short of Annex or the Runaway Steamkin itself. So if they swing with everything but the Steamkin, we will let the other creatures through. Alright, Bond of Revival. Perfect. Now we just need 1 more land, and we will be golden. Unbreakable Bond is something that, putting it on an End Rays against mono red, oh boy. Alright. So now, next turn, I'm starting to question if we're going to actually, if we have the ability to reanimate, if we're going to want to swing with Mire Triton, because it would let the Annex come on through. Thank you, opponent. I'm actually quite glad you did that. I will trade. I know it reduces our damage, but what we really want here is to just make sure that we stay alive. That's all we really care about. 3 mana. Ah, this old trick. Oof. Okay, we really need to hit. Alright, so we're in a bad spot now. Now that they have the Torbrand, it is something we desperately did not want to see. Alright, as long as we survive this turn. Next turn, I'm going to Bond of Revival our Dracosith, and I'm going to wipe out most of their board. After that, I will Unbreakable Bond, but because I need to do the 4 damage there, and need to do 3 damage there, and that needs to die as well. Okay. There's 2. That will trade there. This will eat their Scorch Spitter, just in case. So that's how we block. We still take an absurd amount of damage. But we're in a pretty good spot now. We're going to be able to take out their Torbrand, their Annex, and their Champion. And we're just going to have to hope that we don't die on the Crackback. So here comes Dracosith. Okay, 4 damage. 3 damage. Whenever a non-token. Alright, so that means the other creature we want to kill is going to be a token. Because making it a token means they get 1 less token. So we take 1 less damage. And all in all, stand a little bit better chance of survival. If they have a Torbrand, we're still dead. Robber of the Rich, is that lethal? I think it is. Alright, so we got really close there, as you can see. If we'd hit the reanimation spell a turn earlier, we'd have been able to gain 7 life, and then the Dracosith would have completely taken over the game. As it stands, however, oh, I suppose not. Castle Embereth also does one hell of a lot of damage, and I just didn't see it. So, no, I think the hitting the land a turn earlier would have actually gotten us there. Because it also gives our creatures vigilance. And we'd have been able to prevent 14 damage, gain 7, and then they couldn't swing in or we gain another 7. So yeah, the land drop there was really, really big, just so you can see the power of the deck. Obviously, you win some, you lose some. I'm not saying we should have won that, I'm just saying how close we were to winning that, so that you get a more accurate representation of what this deck is capable of. I don't think it's the best thing you can be doing in Standard. I think it's easy enough to hate out, but I do think it is something that's very powerful. Karuga, so this is Fires. Against Fires, I think we're going to want a way faster hand. Or more interactive, I suppose. Well, not interactive. We don't do that, actually. But I don't think this is something that we're looking for. We have no way of... We have no fatty to put in the yard. We have no reanimation spell. I'm going to go ahead and mull that. At least we have lands. We're not missing as much as last time, but we're still missing a lot. I'm still going to keep this because going lower in a deck that needs to hit a lot of its land drops can be a little bit of a problem. That is Temple of Deceit. Okay. Almost made a big mistake there. I'm keeping the basic just so that we can keep our life total up a bit. Gonna scry. We do need the 4th land, but you know what? We need more than that. A fatty to put into the yard, and we'd prefer to discard it to our Rixmadi next turn. If we can't, we'll just play the Mire Triton. And if things get so bad that we are forced to use the Rixmedy Spectacle cost, at least we get to refuel our hand. Alright, well, one of those is something we wanted to mill. Alright, so here we go, swing in. I'm gonna shock. And I'm going to actually go ahead and cast the Merchant of the Veil, because we want to start applying pressure to our opponent, and we can still use its ability to draw then discard. Also, more importantly, my current plan is to, depending on what we draw, use the Spectacle cost on the Rixmedy. If we draw land, we're just going to get those out of here and try and refuel a little stronger. Blast Zone, not something we wanted to see. We will be attacking with everything here. I'm going to Spectacle the Rixmedy because of the Blast Zone being able to kill all of our 2-drops. We don't want to just deploy something that's not going to do too much. And we'd rather try and refuel this hand with as much gas as possible. And we're pretty likely to hit one more land. So this is +1 in card advantage. It's also going to make them put the counter on flat. Ooh! I'd been expecting them to let that resolve. No problem that they didn't, though. I'd rather that they counter that than force us to continue playing a little bit reserved. Or blowing up our damage sources, I suppose, is actually what I should be saying. So I guess to determine... No, I think it's very straightforward what I do here. I play the Facet Reader. They're 100% going to blow up, or put a counter on the Blast Zone. That doesn't mean they'll blow it up, but now that they see the number of 2-drops, it's something they're likely to do. Now we know what we're playing against, I guess. Blue-green Flash? This isn't... Huh. I was thinking this was... I guess it's not. This is a weird deck. Discard. We know they have counter spells, so we're gonna try and build up a little, I suppose. Or... I suppose building up has its downside with the Blast Zone, though. Yeah, waiting. So right now I'm trying to determine what the higher risk play is, and then avoid it. Because I don't know if it's better to wait and let them potentially Blast Zone and build up an army with Night Pack, or play into a potential counterspell this early when they're fairly likely to still have one. I think waiting against a Night Pack ambusher, though, is just kind of suicide, and you have to hope that they don't have it. It's just kind of, you're digging your own grave. Alright, Frilled Mystic, very good card. I think it's criminally underrated in current standard. I'm not sure how I feel about it in a Karuga deck, though. I'm not sure how I feel about a Flash Karuga deck, honestly. I guess you have Brazen Borrower to kind of pick up the negative tempo, but normally a Flash deck doesn't want to be caught in a position where, you know, bad things can even happen. How do I put that? They don't want to fall behind, usually. I'm going to play out the Rixmedy, it's 1 card advantage, and I'm not going to manage to get through. Alright, or I will not get that card advantage. Just planning to do that, rummage, and then loot. Now, I am going to loot, I'm just going to mill 1, and this deck, milling 1 is honestly pretty decent. I mean, come on, we play cards that mill us. So, it's not as powerful as a draw. We'll be sad if we get rid of something we wanted, but honestly, we're just trying to put a Dracosith in the yard. And dig a little deeper. Alright, opponent's getting in. I'm not willing to lose the merchant. I am willing to lose the Mire Triton. And I think, no, I'm not. Because this is the only thing stopping that from attacking me. So I'm going to declare no blocks. And really, we just need to draw the lifelink bond. Mill 1. Or the lifelink spell. Loot. And I suppose we also need it to resolve, but that's neither here nor there, is it? Play out Mire Triton, gain 2 life. Pretty sure we're dead no matter what here though, especially if our opponent's thinking about it. Yeah, that puts lethal on board no matter what. Not that it wasn't already, just now there's no need to even try counting. Alright, and here we go into our last game. So yeah, the weakness of this deck is anything that tries to interact with us on the stack. If it interacts on the board, sometimes we can catch them with their pants down. I feel those are even matchups. Mono red I feel is supposed to be about even, but honestly, having played it a little more, I'm not sure it entirely is. Getting 2 turn 5 is not nothing. On the play, I'll keep this. I'm going to lead on Temple of Deceit because it's tapped 100% of the time, whereas the Fabled Passages later on have a chance not to be. The best thing we could hope to happen is that we get an untapped land. A tap land is not something we're even remotely interested in. Untap land off the top to play the Facet Reader though, and start looting. And fixing up our hand is exactly what we want though. Alright, I think they are the sacrifice combo version. Alright, untap land off the top. Go ahead and play the Facet Reader. Is even our best untap land because it lets us Merchant of the Veil. In addition to our looting. Oh, they're this version of the Luris deck. Okay. Excellent. So we are just going to go ahead and pass the turn. No attacks. This is an instant. So we're just going to use this to discard Dracosith, and then afterwards we will loot. Alright, let's see what they do. Dead weight here would be pretty bad. Now when I first read that, I thought it was only your creatures, but no, it's just any creature that an aura you control was attached to. Alright, so because of things like that, I'm not entirely sure we're going to be able to get through this matchup. They just have gigantic lifelinkers. And we don't really have a way to kill them once they get past a certain size. Our plan is basically, hey, we're going to have the bigger thing, but in this matchup, that's not true. We'll be able to kill things around it, but we're not killing the all that glitters Hateful Eidolon. Might end up playing that deck for you on one of these videos eventually. Discard Dracosith. Now we're going to want to loot. Get rid of that Blood Crypt. One, two, three, four. Okay. So I'm going to play out the Benthic Biomancer. No. Yes? I'm going to play out the Merchant of the Veil at least. try and build up for eventually dealing with the Dracoseth. Or dealing with their other threats with the Dracoseth and setting up a large block on that. Here, yeah, I do need another island anyway. I'm not gonna play anything out this turn. I'm just gonna plan on looting. No, I'm playing... I don't need to loot. Okay, so I don't need to loot. Because I already have my plan for next turn set up. Even though looting would be good, I'm gonna set up a board that'll be better for when we get to, if we get to bring back the boar instead. I think this is gonna be a double reanimation spell kind of matchup. Mire's Grasp, that's fine, they draw a card. But hey, I guess at least they're not growing their Hateful Eidolon. No blocks. Our turn, we're gonna get to shrink the Hateful Eidolon by killing their Island. However you pronounce that. Let's see. Alright, let's see. I'll take another island. Bond of Revival. Hello, Dracoseth. And we will attack with everything. Nothing's getting blocked after all. I suppose I'm not going to attack with everything though. I'd rather eventually have the Facet Reader than the Benthic if they put another All That Glitters on their Hateful Eidolon, so. Damage to any target and 3 damage, each of up to 2 other. Okay, so I cannot in fact stack. So 4 to them, 3 there. I wish I could choose that, but oh well. Cannot double target, making sure. I'm still gonna target their Hateful Eidolon. No reason, I messed up here. I could have done 4, 3, 3, and I'd have straight up killed the Hateful Eidolon because it would have shrunk as the Islet shrunk. Died. Or I guess not. It wouldn't have done that anyway. So it didn't matter, but that was a thing I could have done. When I saw the 5, I just kind of gave up on the idea of killing it and didn't give it the thought I should have. That is entirely my mistake. The Dracoseth could 100% have killed the Eidolon. Alright. Goodbye Biomancer. It's kind of neat. 1 mana removal that can also pump. And that's pretty relevant when your threat's a lifelinking threat. That draws you cards. And second Islid. And I'm gonna force them to sack again. Where am I? I have a lot of interesting decisions this game I wasn't expecting to have. So I'm gonna play the Temple of Malice. I'm gonna scry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is legendary though, so I don't need another. I was debating on hard casting it there. Next, I'm going to haggle with the Merchant of the Gale. Discard my Steam Vents. Play the Merchant. Swing Dracoseth. 4 damage. 3 damage. 3 damage. Resolve. So maybe knowing they'd do that, it was right to just for them. I think it 100% was, but it's a 2-turn clock anyway. No, it's not. No, it's not a 2-turn clock anyway, but it didn't make a difference to the clock anyway. Oh boy, I keep just not thinking here. I think that means this is definitely... No, I'll play one more game after this. But we're definitely getting close to the end of the video if I'm getting this tired already. Starfield Mystic. That's the counter whenever enchantment leaves. Alright. And draw a card, grow a creature. So we will block their Eidolon and loot. Kill both of their creatures unless something happens. And discard the Watery Grave. Attack. 4 damage. 3 damage. 3 damage. And here you can really see the power of Dracoseth and why I kept talking it up. This card just absolutely demolishes your opponent's board and does a lot of work on their life total. I'm playing out the Temple even though I'd like the fodder. Definitely keeping the Unbreakable Bond in case we lose our creature. Playing the Facet Reader. Passing the turn. Unbreakable Bond also capable of gaining us life and preventing any kind of comeback shenanigans we might not want. Say if they remove this, play a blocker before the Facet Reader. And there you go. Dracoseth cleared out their board repeatedly, dealt an absurd amount of damage to them, and got us there from what I thought was just a position we were bound to lose. Alright, and here we go. Last game of the video. I keep saying that, but you can't trust a word I say, really. If you think you can, read the names of the videos and then the descriptions. They are worlds apart. Although this video will be the first exception. I'm gonna try and play it by the YouTuber's handbook and name my videos sensible things with sensible tags and just really be trying to push that algorithm. Speaking of the algorithm, jarring segue here, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. And I really want that, honestly. I rather enjoy making these videos for all of you, and gives me something to do while, you know, I'm stuck inside, and helps me forget the fact I'd much rather be playing Paper Legacy somewhere else than plopped down in front of a computer not talking to my opponent. Except to say hello. I'm really missing that aspect of Magic, and just going into a crowded room and people being like, oh, there's Zerta. What insane brew did he come up with today? Oh, it's Doomsday. I guess that's actually a real deck now. It's not a brew anymore. Sad me. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of the Merchant of the Veil here. I have the Mire Triton and the Facet Reader. I'm looking for a fatty. Then again, I don't know if they're removal heavy. I'll find... this is kind of difficult. Because on the one hand, I want to just keep looking. But on the other hand, not knowing what they are and getting a looter is pretty important. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the Merchant after all. Ideally, I don't need it. But worst case scenario, I'd like to have it. Okay. I'm still going to play out the Facet Reader. It lets me use my mana more efficiently next turn. Although I feel like... oh, okay, good. Mono green. I was going to say, I feel like it's getting Domri's ambushed, given... this is actually kind of a problematic card. I didn't expect it to live and give me the ability to do anything. So here, I'm going to Shock, even though this is against an aggro deck, so that I have the ability to hold up a loot from my Facet Reader. Excellent. Alright, so we just hit our best mill there in the end raise. Unbreakable Bond on end raise against mono green. Whew. Alright, Yorvo, however, might actually grow big enough to size us. Just gonna go ahead and let that one hit me. Mire Triton's a little better at holding back a 4-4 than a 2-2. Ooh. Let's loot. Dracoseth, please? Huh? Well, we don't need an untapped land next turn, so goodbye Blood Crypt. Hello, Temple. I'd like to have you after the loot, but I suppose you'll do fine before as well. So here, bit of an interesting position. I have to choose between wanting a merchant on board or a loot this turn in case we hit Dracosith, which I now think is a little better. But I think I want to have as much damage on board as possible, and the chances of the actually hitting the Dracosith are pretty low. No attacks, don't want to trade the Mire Triton here. I'm just going to reanimate with lifelink, swing on with the Mire Triton, the Endrays, and I believe the Merchant of the Veil, as long as they don't play out their big ol' 5/5 over there. Ugh, Questing Beast, that is Death Touch, doesn't it? Alright, that's nasty. Alright, so I stand corrected. Mire Triton goes there. Oh yeah, can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. Oh my god. Alright, Mire Triton goes there. And, the Questing Beast changes a lot. I'm gonna want to keep my Facet Reader though. So this hurts, but I think it's our best bet. Is we're gonna have to shock, bring this back as a little bit of a sacrificial tool to deal some damage, but mostly to kill the Questing Beast. Yeah. I think they're liable to, yep. I was gonna say it'd be a problem if they blocked our Facet Reader instead and chose to get a little frisky with how they divvied up their blocks there, but we got lucky enough that that's not what they did. Opponent creates a food. I guess that means that they play Wicked Wolf in their deck somewhere, otherwise I can't imagine them wanting the food. Maybe they play that 6 mana King, although I can't imagine that either. Just starting to think of reasons for the Gingerbread Cabin. Phew, 5/5. No blocks. We need these. Growth Chamber Guardian, also unpleasant for us. Alright, so off chance we can reanimate, and we don't want to block with that anyway if we're not forced to. Alright, and it is another lifelinking. So, we're just going to go ahead, bring it on back. And raise 4 runners. This time, it's fairly sad, but we only swing with the 4 runners, I believe. Actually, let's see. If they just block the Merchant of the Veil, how bad is that for us? It's not the end of the world. We still have a lifelinking 7/7 in that scenario. So I like it. If they want to eat the Merchant of the Veil, I'm more than happy to oblige them. There we go. And we gain some more life. We are once again desperately seeking just a reanimation spell. I suppose we do have one potential better draw, which would be Dracoseth into a reanimation spell. Uh-oh.
Everything from deer to
okay.
dinosaurs.
I stand corrected on what would be better.
We're fit enough to survive.
Yeah, that is whenever it gets a counter, not just when it mutates. Or not mutate, adapts. I'm gonna take the 6. This has trample anyway if I'm remembering my abilities correctly. So let's go ahead and haggle. Let's beg. It's not what I was begging for. Gonna loot. I suppose that's better. I'll just go ahead and mill one. Put down a Death Toucher, which is pretty nice, honestly. No attacks. Believe that's a one-sided fight. Yep, that is a one-sided fight. Not the greatest thing in the world for us. In fact, I think that might be the end of the world for us. Maybe they don't notice and they put counters on things. Opponent's looking at their... Oop. Excellent. They've offered us an opportunity I didn't think we'd get. The chance to trade our Tomebound Lich. I guess they're gonna look through their sideboard. Alright, they're gonna keep looking through their deck, find the Growth Chamber Guardian. And what are they gonna do with their Vivian?
Stomping time.
Alright. So, not entirely sure Unbreakable Bond does it for us here. We get a 7/7. We trade with basically just one of their two growing threats here. So what I'm gonna do is deploy the Merchant of the Veil. Try and just stay alive and loot this turn. And hope that we flip over a Drakuseth. If not, we're going to be forced to use the bond just to gain the life. Uh-oh. They've got plans for us. Not sure what they are. There's Voracious Hydra. Alright, they choose to fight. Bad for us in the short run, but better for us in the long run, if that even exists, than them having a creature we have no hope against. Resolves.
We're fit enough to survive.
Resolve all. They have no creatures left. We are fine with this. Also means that they won't be able to just use it to shoot. Okay. Alright. I think that forces our hand on how we block. This has to go there or we're dead. No, it does not, in fact. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, down to 1. So that's our blocks. Let's see our loot. Oh. The worst. Just the worst. Oh, that's... Did these have trample? I did not... I see. There was nothing we could have done there. If I'd read that, I'd have reanimated and we'd have been just fine next turn because of double. But I wasn't planning to get that lucky. If I'd noticed, I'd have done it anyway, though. Just off of the idea that, hey, maybe we can get there and it's kind of our only hope. I was thinking we had one more turn and that meant Drakuseth was just a better bet. As it stands, I'm going to claim this prize and let's see what we get in a pack. Anything we might want to build around? Is it the fourth of the Teamer ultimatums and thus time for us to build a deck around it? Is it a wild card? Oh, nice. Time to, look, I'm going to be honest, this just means that we're going to play the next video with Rek, and we're adding the next Uro. There you go, there's what we're doing. Alright, thank you all for watching. This has been Zerta with Team Top Deck. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Please also recommend this to this channel to a friend if you know anybody who you think might enjoy this kind of content. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Do 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 do.